You guys, sometimes I just am so dumb. Hello and welcome to Mandobug Crafts, episode 86. What's up everybody? My name is Amanda, but you may know me on the internet as Mandobug, and this is my channel here on YouTube where I talk about the things that I am making. Today I have polymer clay, sculpting, knitting, and some art felt. So starting the show out with something I've learned. I like to learn through mistakes apparently. I like to mess up and that's how I learn. I don't like it, but apparently that's what I do. So, I had quite the morning this morning. I got up before the kids and I followed some more of Creative Rachel's polymer clay tutorials. I'll link to her channel down below. I'll link to the tutorials I followed. And I made some cute little charms. And then I went to glaze them. So I've been making these macarons that I've been glazing with polyurethane, but more recently on her channel, Creative Rachel has been glazing her charms with UV resin. So I had ordered some from Miniature Sweets and it finally came in the mail. Okay, so side note, I was like, why are these taking so long to get here? And so then I look up the tracking number and they're coming from Hong Kong. So that made sense. I mean, considering they came from Hong Kong, they got here pretty quickly, but it's not as quick as domestic shipping, so I was a little bummed. But my package arrived, I got some tools, I didn't bring them to show you, but I do have the UV resin bottle. So this is the UV resin that I picked up, and I am just wasn't thinking this morning. So we had people over this morning and my kids were driving me nuts. I thought I was going to be able to paint my charms in the house and they just wouldn't stay away from the bad chemicals. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go paint these outside. You've probably figured out what I did wrong. I was outside using UV resin, outside, getting UV on the resin while I was trying to paint it. I'm so used to being able to paint the polyurethane outside that I didn't even think of it until it became an issue. And I'm like, why is this so thick? Why is this not painting on very well? I think it was part because it was cold outside and then part because it was being set by the UV rays hitting it as I was trying to paint it on. You guys, sometimes I just am so dumb. Jeez. So what happened, right? I've recovered, not quite mentally, you can tell. I have bucha again, I just bottled yesterday, peach ginger, there's a third fruit in here, a second fruit, peach ginger, watermelon. Okay, so, here's my charms. I made a second wire rack to go on here. So the macarons, I finished the lavender ones, and now I just finished these are going to be vanilla honeybean ones. But here's the cute little guys I made. So I made this little, I'm going to have to take them off to see if I can get them to stop shimmying. Shimmy. So I made this cute little reindeer cupcake. He is not glazed. When I went to put the UV resin glaze on him, his reindeer, his antler fell off and broke because I had to press so hard because the resin had gotten so thick already that the antler broke off. So I super glued it back on and I'm going to attempt to UV resin glaze him indoors at a future date. This Christmas tree ornament, well, he's not an ornament, he's a charm. This Christmas tree charm, I did actually get to put UV glaze on, and it went on pretty thick because it had already hardened slightly, but you can see it makes a really nice thick glaze over the top, and it makes them super shiny. And I've heard other YouTube polymer clay users say that the glaze kind of masks your mistakes a little bit, so I'm curious to see when he fully sets, because he's only been outside for a couple hours, and I'm not sure that he's fully set. I'm interested to see the difference, because I have a picture of them pre-glazed, to see what the glaze kind of does to minimize my errors. But the biggest fail of all, the macarons are fine, right? They got the polyurethane glaze, they're fine. The biggest fail of all was this peppermint frappe, which I have a picture of before he got glazed. So cute. So cute. And then, when I went to try to glaze him, oh, he busted, like everything busted off. So I started glazing him. So I did him after the Christmas tree. And so, of course, by then, the resin had started to harden quite thick. And so I was pushing even harder to try to paint it on. And so I pushed, and I broke the candy canes off the top on accident. And I broke the holly berries off of the holly. And to top it all off, I dropped him outside on my back porch. He got covered in dog hair and pine needles and just nasty. I didn't know what to do, so I took him to the sink and I started like trying to wipe the hair off, and then I got resin all over my hands. So I'm in the bathroom yelling at Josh, "Hey, Google how to get resin off your fingers." And of course, Jack had his phone, and so he's like chasing Jack trying to get the phone. Oh my god, I had quite the morning. So, turns out acetone will remove it. So I took some fingernail polish, got the rest of the resin off my hands, used fingernail polish to clean up the charm, and I think I got most of the hair off. I'm leaving it outside to let what little resin was on there harden and cure, and then I'm going to go back in and take acetone to try to remove any other dust or hair that's on there. I'm going to super glue the candy canes back on, super glue the holly berries back on, and then try to redo the resin glaze. But the mocha, or peppermint, he's not, did I say mocha earlier? He's peppermint. The peppermint frappe is so cute. You swirl this green and red clay to make the body, and you push some clay through a piping tip to make the frosting, and it was a lot of fun, and I'm having so much fun playing with polymer clay, but boy is it new to me, boy am I sure learning and making mistakes. But I tell you what, if you're interested in doing these types of charms, definitely go check out Creative Rachel's channel. I've said it like every week now. I wonder how many weeks I'm going to continue to say it. But, I mean, her videos are great. They're just absolutely amazing. And she's doing the 25 Days of Craftmas, and she just put up this cute peppermint candy. And it's got some tips about using baby wipes to keep the white clean, because the red is just very concentrated in color and it transfers onto the white. So when you work with red and white together, it's hard to not turn the white pink. But she's got some tips in that video, and I'm just going to keep doing the 25 Days of Craftmas with her, for better or for worse. So yeah, that's been a lot of fun and something I've learned. Moving on to works in progress, I have been knitting on the vanilla socks that I cast on last week, and you guys, if this isn't a sign, I don't know what is. And I had an idea that, you know, I was having issues knitting because I need to just knit something plain. And sure enough, cast on these socks. Last week I was just at the beginning of the toe. I have turned past the heel in less than a week. I just need some mindless knitting. The knitting time I get, I just cannot do complicated stitch patterns. So I need the mindless knitting. I mean, most of this was knit during a VKN last Friday, but some of it was not. Some of it was like lunch break, some of it's while watching the kids. So it's just so nice to have something so plain and vanilla on the needles. This yarn is so cool. This is Zitron. I'm not sure how you say it. Zitron Trekking XXL in the colorway. Oh, I said it wrong last week. I think I said 667, but it's 677. You know, these creative number names. I'll link everything down below in the description box. But I just cast on, I told you guys I was going to do 60 stitch socks. Well, my gauge at the toe was tighter than my gauge in the body, which I had kind of alluded would maybe be a problem, because you can't just do a 1-inch gauge on like the first inch of your knitting. It's not accurate. Up here I'm getting closer to 7.5 stitches to the inch, which puts my circumference at greater than 8 inches, which is greater than my foot. So to try to counteract that, I put my heels in sooner, and this will force the sock to stretch to fit my heel, which will pull it down skinny on the sides. This is not an ideal fit, but it's the best way that I can make these socks fit without starting over. I don't want to start over. So and then I noticed going through my other pairs of socks that I have some socks that I've knit like that were too big in circumference, but I put the heel in early and they stretched to fit just fine. So I think we'll be okay, but in the future, the next socks I knit, I'm going to try for a 56 stitch sock and see how that goes. Just perfecting the sock formula. The heels that I chose to do are the Fish Lips Kiss heels, which is a short row heel, and because this is self-striping yarn, and I totally forgot, the heel is fine and they match because I did the OCD match them up, cast on perfectly thing. But in the front, I've knit just right past the heel, right? So you can see that the red is supposed to be followed by a dark gray stripe, but that ended up in the heel. And it was gone by the time I got to knitting in the round again, so it's like merged into this one. But, you know, I still think it looks nice and they both match. Not a big deal. But if you care about that kind of stuff, that's why they do contrasting heel toes and cuff in self-striping yarns, and I forgot because it's been a while since I've knit self-striping socks. I mean, it'd been a while since I'd knit socks, kind of. I knit the hand-spun pair earlier this year, but these have been my only 2 socks all year that I can think of. I'm pretty sure. So, this is where I was last week. This little guy. Which was the little progress keeper that came with my jack bag from Banna and Bean. So, I wouldn't be surprised if I have these done by next week and I can actually wear my semi-festive Christmas socks on Christmas. My gory Christmas socks. So as far as other works in progress, I knit 1 square for my mystery sampler mystery knit along from 2014. I knit another square. I just redid the sand stitch square, and then I've cast on another square that I'm redoing. I'm just kind of going back through the clues and choosing the ones that look interesting / semi-mindless that I think will go best in the order of the blanket. And I think I forgot to tell you guys last week the yarn. So this yarn is Blue Sky Fibers worsted cotton. I bought it at Eat Sleep Knit years ago. It was kind of spendy for a blanket, so that's why I decided to go with a rainbow, because I bought like 2 skeins at a time as I could afford. So I bought like 2 red, and then I could knit along until I started running out, and I'd buy 2 orange, and it made it much more affordable to space out the yarn purchasing that way. And then of course with Eat Sleep Knit you get the bonus, you know, the yardage game and bonus things in the mail and all that fun stuff. So that's how this blanket came along, and that's the yarn I was using. US 6 needles, I believe. So not much progress on that. And then the only other thing I worked on this week is some Artfelt. So I'm going to wait until after our party to put this up. But at work we have a holiday party where we were challenged to make a hat and bring it, which is awesome and a lot of fun. So I decided to try to make an Artfelt hat, which that's what I was kind of thinking I'd do with the brown piece of felt I made last week, but then I looked at it and I was like, that's gonna look like I'm putting a dog on my head. And I mean, I could have tried to sew it into a dog and it could have been a funny hat, but that wasn't what I wanted to do. So I went back and I got some more wool roving and I watched a video. So I wanted to make a cloche hat. So I had to look up how to say that, by the way. But it's like a 1920s like domed hat with a sloping brim. And I watched a video on YouTube, I'll link to it below, about how they made it. And I was like, psh, I can do that. Problem number 1, I watch videos and go, psh, I can do that. Sometimes it is a thing to have too much confidence. I don't think I did bad, but I just think I'm more capable of things than I really am. So I put all white roving down, and then I started decorating with colors. My idea was to go in a circle. I had no idea how much this roving was going to shrink. I mean, I had a rough idea of how much it was going to shrink. But I didn't know where, like, the brim was going to be, and I wanted it to look like patches of color along the brim so that I could go back in and embroider them into, like, flowers and butterflies or something. So let me show you what I have. It's not done yet, but this is what I have. This is what the hat looks like from the top. You can see I have, like, a little dome shape here, but it's very flimsy. It's not very stiff, and I don't know how well you can tell at the top, it's, like, very thin. It's very, very thin. So this is what I have right now. So what I did was after it was felted, while it was still wet, I put it on a styrofoam head, and I started blow drying it and pulling it, blow drying and pulling it, because I thought that's what I had seen in the video, and then I was like, this isn't working, so I looked it up, and it's not a blow dryer they used, it was a steam iron. So then, and I was doing this at Lori's house with my mother-in-law, because she was doing some art felt too. And so then I borrow her steam iron, and I'm steaming it and pulling it and shaping it around the styrofoam head, and that's what's giving me that dome shape, and that's why it thinned out the fiber on the top. But the styrofoam head is not like the mold in the video that I watched where it's really, really long. The styrofoam head stops where the face starts, so I could really only go down so much before it wouldn't give me a perfect round circle. So we made this like makeshift like bowl on top of it was a bowl on top of another bowl to try to elongate it even more, but then it started thinning out just too much. So I had to stop, and this is just kind of the dome shape I'm gonna get. And you know, it doesn't look bad. I mean, it looks like a hat, and it doesn't look like a cloche hat, which is what I wanted. It's more like a sun hat, or like, you know, I want to go get some stiffener, like some the stuff you use when you quilt. You know, starch. I want to try to starch it and see if I can flatten out this brim a little bit more, because I don't really want it floppy. And then I'll probably put like some gold beads in the center of these to make them look like flowers. But I don't want to bling it up too much, because I do kind of like the subtle look that you get in the hat. So, successful, kind of? I don't know. I'm happy. It's not what I had in my mind. And that's what happens sometimes when you have pictures in your mind and you try to create them when you have a little experience doing something. It doesn't quite turn out how you wanted, but sometimes it doesn't turn out bad. And when that happens with me, I find that it takes me longer to love the item, because it's not what I wanted, even though it's nice. And it's not until I can get over the fact that I failed to do what was in my mind and ended up with something else. Once I've, like, you know, gotten over that, then I find I love the piece even more. So yeah, Artfelt Hat. It's a lot of fun, you guys. I'm not even kidding you. If you've never done Artfelt, pick up some supplies when you can and try it, because it's like anyone can do it. Well, not anyone. You do have to use a sharp felting needle, so you do, like, my kids can't do it. You have to be at an age where it's appropriate. It's safe. It's safe for the age. An appropriate age to use felting needles safely. But I mean, once you get beyond that point, it's super easy, and there's so much you can do with felt. And like, I'm really surprised that you can shape it like this. So I don't know, maybe I'll make more hats in the future. This was fun. So this is my hat for the holiday party. I'm curious to see if anyone else made Artfelt hats or what everyone else made. So yeah, that's my Artfelt hat, and that's all my crafting content, you guys. So moving on to Let's Chat. This is the more personal side of the podcast, so if you were just here for crafting, I will catch you next week. If not, stick around and we will talk about things. Oh, real quick, before I forget, my cowl. What am I wearing? This is an older finished object. This is a Noble cowl, which I think was a free pattern on Ravelry, knit out of Cascade. Are they just Cascade? Yeah, Cascade. I'm like, is it Cascade 220? That's not the name of the company. That's just a line of yarn. This is Cascade Sunseeker. It was a cotton acrylic blend, I think, with some sparkles in it. Here, I'll take it off and show you. It sparkles. don't know how well you can see that. Oh well. So yes, this was I was digging through my hand knit drawer and I was like, oh, I haven't worn that guy in a while and he's sparkly. Okay, this week I didn't do a lot of stuff. I got a new video game. That took up a lot of my time. Well, not a new video game, the expansion to the game. So my brother plays a ton of video games, so he's usually the one pushing games off in my direction. And he had told me about a game called Don't Starve. I think it's like an indie game. I bought it off the Xbox Marketplace, and it's drawn in very Tim Burton-y feeling kind of, I don't know, that's what it looks like. So, it's dark, it's spooky, you know, the storyline is like this mad scientist gets lured into the dark side and he makes this giant machine and next thing he knows he's poof stranded in a forest and has to figure out how to survive. And he's got to collect these supplies to build up equipment pretty much to escape. So I haven't beaten the game yet. It's not easy, or at least it's not easy for me. So, I hadn't even beat the original before I bought the expansion because it was 50% off, and it might still be on, probably not by the time I get this video up though. Sorry, hate to do that. It was on sale for 50% off, and well, so technically I didn't own the game. My brother was sharing his Xbox Home with me so I could play it because he owned it. But then he took the Home back, just re-downloaded it on his Xbox, and I lost the game. But the discount gave me the original game, plus the Ring of Giants expansion, plus the Shipwreck expansion, which is what I really wanted, for 50% off. So it was a steal of a deal. I couldn't pass it up, and so I've been playing the Shipwreck version, and instead of like a big, I don't know, instead of a big piece of land, you have multiple little islands, and you can build boats and sail back and forth between them. But now I'm like motivated to finish and actually complete the first game before I beat the expansion. So you guys probably weren't interested in that at all, but this is my Let's Chat section, so this is what I've been doing this week. That's why I have such little crafting. I played a lot of Don't Starve. And then on Sunday I went to my mother-in-law's Lori's and we made Christmas cookies with the kids. That was so much fun. Jack wasn't really interested, but I mean he was interested in eating the cookies when they were done. But Emily really got into the sprinkles and she had a blast with it and she did pretty good. And it was funny because eventually, you know, at the first few she put too many sprinkles on and we'd be like, okay, that one's done. But eventually it got to the point where she'd be like, no, that one's not done. Or she'd just put a few on it and then she'd be like, okay, that one's done. It was really cute. We only have one cookie left. We dang near ate them all. This is why you can't do holiday cookie baking too early in the holidays because they don't last. So that was fun. I did the Artfelt up there Sunday with her as well. And then, let's see, after the VKN on Friday, we briefly talked in the VKN about using reusable bags. And I was talking about how I always forget mine at home, but Seattle and Tacoma have both implemented, you know, no plastic bags, kind of like what's been implemented in California. Because I live between Seattle and Tacoma, I know it's only a matter of time before they implement that law here. And I have a ton of reusable bags because I've just kind of been collecting them these past few years because they're great for storing fleeces, washed and not washed, depending on the material of the reusable bag. So I finally made a point on, I think it was Monday or Tuesday, I don't remember. I finally made a point to take my reusable bags to the store and use them, and I just, like, it was really my first time using them for a big grocery trip. I've used them for, like, small items here and there. But I went to Winco, which is kind of like a Costco or a Sam's Club, but you don't have to pay a membership. But it's the big bulk store with super discount prices, but you buy kind of in bulk. And they make you bag your own stuff, and I wasn't sure how it was going to go because I only had about 7 bags, but they were big. And I was able to fit all of my, and I preface this with I buy like all of my meat and a lot of my food, like especially like the frozen stuff and the meat, I buy it all at once. I have a giant freezer, so I buy it for like a whole month supply so that I only have to do short trips to the store for like produce and other short life shelf food items. So I put all of my meat in one bag I just, like, my mind was blown, like, why did plastic bags even become a thing when you can just have a big fabric bag and use one to hold as much as, like, 10 plastic bags could hold? I didn't fit all of the food that I bought in my 7 or 8 bags, but I only had to take home like 5 plastic bags, whereas it probably would have been closer to 30. So I just kind of was like, I don't know. I guess I had never really realized just how efficient reusable bags are, and I never really thought about how did plastic bags even begin to be a thing in the first place. Nobody likes them. Like, they're not even that good. Like, how many times is an overfilled plastic bag just break on your way to the car or on your way into the house? Like, so I'm completely converted, not like I really have a choice in the near future anyways, but reusable bags. If you've never tried it, try it. It's amazing. That's all I have for you guys this week. Sorry it's such a short episode, but I did want to get something recorded, and I will see you guys next week. So until then, happy crafting. Bye!